And hi, everyone. It's Michigan's AutoTalk podcast. And welcome. We are live from the Michigan International Auto Show at DeVos Place in downtown Grand Rapids. It's producer Phil Tower, along with the regular host, Al Schwinkendorf and John Puick. To my right, we are inside the big hall of the Michigan International Auto Show. In this episode, which releases the weekend of the auto show, as you're listening to this, you can actually head down to the auto show at DeVos Place in downtown Grand Rapids. We are by Electric Avenue on the left side of the big room, and Dawn Baker, show manager, is with us. And Dawn and I have done a few of these rodeos over the last several years. First of all, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you. There's nothing more exciting than celebrating the 25th anniversary of the auto show.
25 years?
25 years.
Awesome.
It is, and then we've got some anniversary of vehicles to celebrate, like the Toyota Sienna. That's 25 years as
Is that
well.
right?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then you might want to know, that there's a 30th anniversary for the Grand Cherokee. So the Jeep Grand Cherokee, but 70th for the Corvette. So
Yeah, that's right. That's right. 1953, 2023. There are a lot more electric vehicles here than usual, and that's because electrics are really dominating the automotive world. That's what all the big automobile manufacturers, not as much with Toyota. They're a little more on the, we're going to see what happens, but everybody else is all in. How has that changed the auto show in terms of the electrics?
Well, I think hybrids and electric, right? So you brought up Toyota, and so what you see there is a lot of hybrids. But I think that it's a big change, and one of the reasons why is the auto show offers an opportunity for people to come down and get informed from a product specialist. So you've got the company viewpoint. Then you can also talk to dealers, and they've got a little bit different perspective on electrics, maybe. And
But they're going to get what the manufacturer feeds them.
True, but many of them now are, out there driving them, and so there's that perspective. And then in Electric Avenue, we have kind of brought in some just people from the community who are speaking, who are studying, who have a greater understanding than I do about EVs and what that means, and we want to tell a story. So we want to understand that we have looked at electric vehicles before.
Oh yeah.
As a automobile industry, and decisions were made, and now here we're circling back almost 100 years later, a little bit more, but all of a sudden it's big. And we're realizing there's a lot of discussion that needs to happen. So I love that at the auto show you've got the perspective of three. But it definitely is something that people are coming to look at. I don't know that they're willing to give up some of the power and performance, but I think that's part of the story of Electric Avenue.
I think one of the things that people, I was just talking with the guys from Consumers Power that are going to do a future podcast with us about the power. Everybody thinks that, it's an electric car, and they think of the kid that on Christmas Day had that little car with the antenna that he drove around on the carpet and it didn't go very fast. That's not how it works. These got torque. These things are fast. It's so much has changed. We got so far to go, but you look at, I'm a Ford guy. I follow Ford. Huge billions of dollars of investment in Detroit going the EV way.
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it Chrysler?
Stellantis, yeah?
Well, yeah, I still call them Chrysler. There's one of them that by 2030, they figure that's all they're going to make.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Well, and speaking to your point of performance and power, so if you go over to like the BMW display, on their windows, they talk about, how many seconds to get from 0 to 60.
Right.
Because in an electric vehicle, you're right.
Yep.
We're still going, really? I think I have to be, 2 miles down the road to have hit 60 miles per hour, and then I only have 10 miles to go and I have to be off the highway. So, yes, like I said, education, information, I call it edutainment.
That's what it is. Good call.
Right.
Good call.
I mean, you can come down and learn about all that at the auto show, but then there's certainly a lot of fun to be had here too, and so we want to bring those things together.
And the other thing is too, you can actually get inside the vehicles. This is not like some of the international shows in Chicago or Detroit where you can't get up and close with the vehicles. It's always been a hallmark of this show, where if you're looking at cars, you can get in one, you can look at the cargo space, you can open the front end of the F-150 Lightning and see that giant Frunk, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it? And it's just it's
with
it's
the hidden cooler down below.
with one of the great
John hides his
aspects of the
beers.
show.
There's a lot of trucks that do have that in the back end.
All right, this podcast is live on Thursday, February 2nd, Friday, February 3rd, 11 to 9:30, Saturday, February 4th from 10 until 9:30, and Sunday, February 5th, 10 until 5 p.m. Great weather all weekend long, no blizzards to contend with. Come on down. This is a perfect family event to get out of the house with the grayness and the dark. Dawn said, get out here. It's bright. It's warm. You've got covered parking underneath DeVos Place.
It's all things glitz and glamour. I mean, look at the lights sparkling off all of the variety of colors out here on these vehicles. Come on now.
Yes, Phil's going to dance.
Yeah, that might happen later on. Dawn Baker, show manager for the
Thank you,
Michigan
Dawn.
International Auto Show, 25th annual. Thanks, Dawn.
Thanks, guys.
Up next, we've got Josh Russell with us, and I have on my show rundown.
Oh, hang on.
What?
You got to hang on. Don, we need you for one more second.
Okay.
Tell us what your first car was. Nobody can come on our podcast without telling us
that's
about
right.
your first
we
car.
need to know your first car.
It's a Chevelle, a mustard Chevelle.
With a brown vinyl top?
It did not have a brown vinyl top, but it did have a leaky sunroof. Do you want to hear that story?
What
Go
year
around
was
the
it? Do you
corner.
remember?
I think it was a 73, and
Okay.
I got it in 81.
Okay.
So it was a beater,
Just
though. By
broken
then,
in.
oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. We got to know.
We got to know. Josh Russell is joining us. That was Dawn Baker, show manager. He's joining us on Michigan's Auto Talk podcast. Josh, have a seat. You are, okay.
Josh, just stand there. We're putting you in the back.
No, we've got, this is live, so, we never know what happens.
Right.
We know this guy. The last time we were hanging with this guy was inside the big conference room at the Gilmore Car Museum.
And it was warm outside.
Hickory Corners, Michigan. It was warm. We were hanging out, talking about the Gilmore Car Museum, and now he's here in February at the Michigan International Auto Show. The executive director of the Gilmore Car Museum, Josh Russell, is with us. Hey, Josh.
Hey, thank you. Yes, it's not so warm out now, but that's okay.
It's warm in here.
It's warm in here, and we just need to get through Saturday. Saturday is our winter motoring meet at the museum, so vintage snowmobiles and Model A's and Model T's on tracks and
cool.
skis. So we're trying to hang on to this little
like
bit of
the
snow we have on the
Frosty
ground.
the Snowman deals?
Yes, yeah, we have a couple of snowmobiles and Model T snowmobiles. So
you guys go all year round. That's so cool.
Yeah, so we're hoping that it holds out at least for Saturday. But as soon as Sunday comes, then we're ready for car show season. Then everything can melt and it can be 70
You got
degrees.
a few
That'd be
months
just
off.
Fine.
That's we have to keep plugging that because the last thing I think about on a cold, nothing going on winter Saturday afternoon is going to Gilmore.
Yep.
It's there is plenty to see and do indoors, even in the
You're
in
the
the
only car
wintertime.
place that's open, really,
Yeah.
in Michigan.
Well, and we have, is I think you guys are very aware, it's there's the museum itself, but we do have activities, right? So we have the winter motoring meet this Saturday. The next Saturday is Pint with the Past, which, there's live band, the Out of Favor Boys, and it's a more 1920s Prohibition speakeasy era type tasting event with beer, wine, and spirits on that Saturday. And every Sunday throughout the entire winter season, through end of March, we have our winter lecture series. So like last week, John Clore from Ford Performance was there talking about the Mustangs that never were, Mustangs that never came to fruition. But every weekend for the winter lecture, different speaker, different topic, and folks like to come out to that just to enjoy the museum and learn some stuff.
Josh, do you have to be a member to attend the lectures?
So you, as a member, you can attend the lectures for free, right? And you can come into the museum anytime, and the lectures are free. They're open to non-members, but it's $5 to attend the lecture if you're not a member.
We pay more than that to park. Do you have a
Not exactly true. Always free parking at the
Always
Gilmore
free.
Car
Yeah,
There
Museum.
you go. Do you have a Mustang expert on staff?
We have some Mustang experts, if not on staff, folks who are volunteers who help us with our.
Years ago, my mother brought me in this article that was actually, I think, like out of the AARP monthly magazine, and it's what's going on this day going on. In March 9th, 1964, Ford did something crazy. They put a Mustang on the top of the Chrysler building or the what's the big one, King Kong. in New York.
Oh, Empire State
Building, something
Empire
like
State
that,
Building.
for its like big public release. And I heard somebody, I think it was a question on Jeopardy, of what year did the Mustang, or when did the Mustang came out? And I go, no, they're wrong. I got like 4 different stories that tell me March 9th. It's my birthday. I was born when the Mustang was born. Never owned one. But it was just like, I got to find out for sure from somebody.
All right, we'll fact check that. We were just talking about the Gilmore Car Museum and the benefit of memberships. You get into the museum at free. There are different level memberships, and you can attend those great lectures in the wintertime free. You know, if you've always wanted to know more about cars but were too lazy to read, like me, you attend a lecture and hear the pros talking about it. So just real quickly, highlight some of the upcoming lectures you have.
So I believe that
and it's live, so if you don't know, that's all right.
Yeah, and I probably should say I'm not exactly sure of all the ones that are coming up, but we have had some really neat ones recently. One of the folks who's in the restoration department from the Air Zoo, from the Aviation Museum, and they do aircraft restoration there. He did a lecture all about the restoration activities that are going on. So
they do an excellent job.
And it's not always just cars. It's other transportation, other things, other topics that are related but of interest certainly to Gilmore members and to folks who come out and enjoy the museum and want to learn a little bit about history.
And we got to tell people who are not internet savvy, if you come to the auto show, grab one of their programs, brochures, whatever you want to talk about it. The ad in there for Gilmore is like 2 pages of events, of things that are it doesn't cover everything, but it covers all the big ones. And I mean,
just the primary car shows for the 2023 cars, boat, motorcycle.
And it goes on and on and on and on. So if you've got one of those, look through it, because I was shocked. I was trying to find out where the SNX booth was, and I went through there, and it's like on the computer, 2.5 pages, and it gave everything.
And we just thank you for mentioning that. We just announced the 2023 schedule about a week ago.
Okay.
So we got the handouts here, and it is in the program, and we're letting people know.
All right, because I put you on the spot, somewhat that I want to highlight. You mentioned some that were coming up. You just did the Mustangs that never were.
Yep.
Here's one that's really cool. Route 66 on February 26th. Kind of the photojournalist who's taken photos of that great highway. That'll be really cool. One that I mean, this is really interesting. One on March 26th. You don't want to miss this. The Model T Ford, a.k.a. the mechanical cockroach, which I love. And that is, guys, we've had on the podcast the Ford Piquet plant, which is now a museum.
Yep. Yes.
We've had them on, and one of their historians is going to be the speaker for that lecture series.
Nice.
That's right. One other thing to share here at the auto show right now in our Gilmore display. Just on Monday, we were fortunate. We actually were able to receive on loan for our upcoming Supercars Then and Now exhibit, which we can talk about a little bit. It's coming in April. As a teaser, as a preview of that, we got on loan from the Ford Piquet Avenue plant their 2004 Ford GT prototype. So one of the prototype cars for the 0506 GT, the one that, when it was sent, one of the 2 cars that was sent to Italy for Ford to do high-speed testing and powertrain reliability and durability testing. The car that's sitting over there on loan from the Piquet plant, folks, was the fastest Ford production car in history at that time. It hit 211 miles an hour, and they've shared it with us at the Gilmore Museum to include here at the auto show and in the Supercars exhibit that'll be in our main gallery for the next year, starting in April.
That's cool.
And some of the not totally car, you don't think about cars on this one, but lecture series at the Gilmore Car Museum, April 2nd, The Rich History of the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. Very cool. And this is the one I am going to actually go to. April 23rd, 2nd edition. This apparently has happened before. Dr. John Geisler is a historian, and his lecture is entitled, I love this, Strange, Weird, Unusual, Unique, and Crazy Highway Signs. Yes, I love that. And that is all a part of the Winter Lecture Series at the Gilmore Car Museum, gilmorecarmuseum.org. I think that's earned us at least another trip down to the Gilmore for another podcast this coming spring. Fair enough?
That's great. And thank you for talking about that. And it's, again, with the Winter Lecture Series for folks who want to learn in lecture format, we've got the Winter Lectures. Also, you guys remember we started winter workshops a couple years ago, the hands-on tech. We just announced the first 2 of those for this winter coming up in February and in March. We have Mike Borma from Gas Axe Garage is going to teach. It's a 3-day winter workshop tech class, and he's going to take people through and have them help chop the top on a 41 Ford.
Cool.
And then we got in March, Dutch Boys Hot Rods. Dutch Boys from Vicksburg, Michigan is going to come in and do one on working on muscle cars. So muscle car metalwork and restoration and customization, and so prepping a car for welding, metalworking, and metal shaping, and prepping a car for paint. And they're really highly regarded builders, nationally and internationally with the muscle cars and the pro touring and custom cars that they build, and so they're stepping up as special guest instructors for that one, which is cool.
Yeah, we should connect with you on that because we could have them on the podcast just before their lecture to talk about that. That's a great idea. I'm glad you said that. Josh Russell is the Executive Director of the Gilmore Car Museum. Thank you for stopping by. I always love chatting with you. Appreciate it.
No, you can't go yet. What's your first car?
What was my first car?
Yeah.
So my first car caused me enough pain that it got me pretty quickly into my first cool car. So I had, when I was 15, a 1980 Chevy Citation.
Okay.
That was
Was
not
it
the
the
greatest,
4 or
but it
the
was
6?
it was the Iron Duke 4-cylinder.
That's better than a
And
2.8 V6.
blew a hole within the first probably 8 months of ownership. Blew a hole in the piston. Had to replace learn how to replace the clutch myself, and then hit a deer.
Oh, it was a
and
manual.
blew apart the entire car. So my stepdad Mike, fortunately, he relented and said, "I know you paid for that car yourself, but let's get you a different car that's a little bit cooler."
Took pity on you.
And then we got a rusty 72 Monte Carlo, and then started working on that.
Because he'd rather have that in the driveway than the Citation. What color was the Citation?
Correct. The Citation was like a silver gray. But then once I hit the deer, the hood was black because I had to salvage parts out of a junkyard and I couldn't afford to actually paint it. So
do you remember the fun fact?
We know how old he is now.
Do you remember the fun fact about the Citation radio? It was vertical.
Yes,
oh yeah, it was.
That was the weirdest
That
thing
was
in that
GM's
car.
future car right there.
Yeah, and people looked at it and were like, what the hell is this?
Lee Iacocca's Omni and K car.
Yeah.
I am so old. I had like an aftermarket realistic cassette deck that I had to put underneath it because nothing would actually
Radio
fit
Shack's
in
not
the
even
dash.
around anymore,
You're
are
exactly
they?
right.
That's awesome.
I love it. Oh, that we like you even more now, knowing that story, Josh Russell.
You suffered like the rest.
Yeah, you suffered like the rest of us. Thanks so much.
But it was front wheel drive.
Yeah.
It was. It got me around. Hey, we tell our kids, a sad ride is better than a proud walk.
That's
right.
right.
You keep that in mind, young person.
Daddy drove a Citation.
Until you buying it, you buy it yourself, then you got it going on.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, very good. Thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you, guys. Nice to see you.
You never know who we're going to run into here at the
we'll see you this spring,
Michigan
fall,
International
winter.
Auto Show.
Yeah.
We are live at the Michigan International Auto Show, 25th annual Michigan International Auto Show. Phil Tower, producer from Michigan's AutoTalk podcast, along with, of course, Al Schwinkendorf and John Puick. And we have another guest waiting in the wings, I think. And this is James. And James is a journalist who covers...
Phil apologizes for calling you Josh all the time.
Yeah, for some reason I looked at Josh.
Too many J's.
I normally drink after the podcast, so it's okay.
James drives the Leaf, has great stories about EVs.
And you are a writer. You cover EV cars. How did you get into this line? It's just a little bit out your background.
Yeah, so I do IT by day, and a few years back started blogging about what it's like to own an electric car in Michigan. Started my website, electricmitten.com.
What year did you do that?
I've been driving an electric 10 years now.
Oh, wow. See, back then, people in California said you can't drive an EV in Michigan. That's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
Colorado, anywhere, that can't happen.
Absolutely. That's what 2011 Leaf would go, 65 miles
Yeah.
or something?
Yeah.
My Leaf goes much further than that. thank
Okay.
goodness.
Well, wait a minute. You're an IT guy. You must have souped something up under the hood.
Well, I lease my electric cars.
Okay. All right. So
Good call.
that makes sense.
No, when we get to the first car conversation, then I have a fun story.
Okay. Yeah. So you started. What motivated you to do the website?
Yeah, I just enjoyed it so much I wanted to share that with everybody.
Very cool.
Plus, I respect what you guys do and wanted to do that myself a little bit.
Okay, you're IT by day, but did
Yeah.
you always like to write, or were you a writer in the past in high
Yeah,
school?
yeah.
or-
So most of my college papers, I tried to road test cars and turn it into
Awesome.
Oh, I love this guy. Way
The-
to go.
was
We
it
weren't
the-
smart enough to do that.
Was it the Ford Escort
Good for
ZX2
you.
was the first Ford that had the fully electronic
Yeah.
4-speed automatic.
Yeah.
Used as an excuse to write all about technology
Oh my
paper I
gosh,
had
what
to
a
write.
bunch of more.
Yeah.
John and I went to Ferris to automotive tech school, and we weren't smart enough to do that for English class.
Yeah, that is, you know,
It's brilliant.
that is quite brilliant. So you've seen the EV world grow over 10 years, especially here in the Midwest, and you know the big three: Stellantis, Ford,
Yep.
and of course GM. Some observations you've had as the industry has evolved.
Yeah, well, part of why I lease is they just keep getting better. I mean, I do either a 2 or 3 year lease, and I guarantee the next car is going to go further. It's going to be more powerful. It's going to be more comfortable. I remember my first electric car was my first car to ever have heated seats. My second one had a heated steering wheel too. I'm completely pampered. I can't live without either now.
Yeah, well, it's
Once you get
electric
spoiled,
galore. That's
Yeah.
had all the stuff on.
Yeah, well, and I rock my heat at 60 degrees in the winter, and that way with the steering wheel and the seat, it doesn't matter, and it
Yeah.
saves me some range on the highway.
Yeah, you got to be savvy.
Yep. And the distance charging is getting better. My first 2 were actually plug-in hybrids because you couldn't road trip very well back then. Now I go to Detroit and Chicago pretty regularly. I'll be in Chicago next week for the auto show as a journalist there, and I'll take my Leaf.
Yeah.
So I know my favorite spots to stop, and
Gotcha.
who
One
has the
stop
nicest
along
bathroom
the
with a
way?
charger.
Right, yeah.
Is it a one-stop
Depends
trip?
on how cold it is. If it's
Okay.
single digits,
Right.
I'll probably top off when I get close to town.
Okay.
If
In
we
August,
stay
you could
above
probably
20,
make it.
Yeah, in August I can make it from here to that first Oasis.
Yeah.
On one charge.
Okay.
By then I need the restroom anyway.
Yeah.
Plug it in for 5 minutes.
5 minutes,
Wow.
you're out.
I-
10,
yeah.
15,
It-
whatever.
I get a snack. I get
Yeah.
a drink. You know what I mean? My
Yeah.
5 minutes is not a real 5
Right,
minutes.
I
Yeah.
understand.
What's your blog? I want to make sure we plug that on the podcast.
Oh, yeah, it's electricmitten.com.
I'm looking at it right now. This is really cool. I hope our listeners will check it out because you've got some great articles on here. And like you said, you're going to be in Chicago at the auto show, and just really, it looks like you're living the EV lover's dream. Just driving these. And are you someone who just gets a chance to test drive these anytime you connect with somebody?
Yeah, I've made a lot of friends in the local area that have connections, and either they'll let me drive their cars and write about it, or they may work someplace that has access to them. I've been very lucky to make those connections.
A website like that's very important for people who are first-time buyers, in my opinion, because there's only 2 kinds of people that buy EVs. The ones that have them for a month and absolutely hate them and wish they didn't buy it, and the ones that love them and don't know why they didn't buy one 4 years ago. And there's a lot to know. We're starting a relationship with the guys from Consumers Power, just about charging and the realities of it. And nothing against the dealers, but they do studies, and like what they're finding is, the salesman goes, you get this charger, you have an electrician come out, he plugs it in, and off you go. But what's the reality? What's it going to cost? What does it really cost to put this, 100 amp service in, or 100 and do all this? And so. A site like yours, I mean, if you want one, homework.
Absolutely. And I try and share that perspective because it's what I was told when I bought them, which wasn't bad information. It was just not as informed as it could have been.
Right.
Versus my experience has been very different.
Yep.
I never worry about how fast it charges on a road trip because I don't road trip that often.
Yeah.
I know, and something
I wake up every morning to a full
just
charge.
cracked me up while we were talking how I'm just crazy about getting good mileage and stuff like that. He goes, yeah, I used to too, but he goes, now that I got all electric, I just charge the thing up and I can go whale on it and go however fast I want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to plug it in when I get back home tonight and it'll be ready to go tomorrow.
Yep. James Morin is with us, theelectricmitten.com. That's his blog, where you can read all about EVs. And I want to ask you, in terms of supply, if somebody is wanting to buy an EV sometime, here we are in February of 2023, we had the supply chain issue, which is still impacting. What is your general consensus on availability of EVs, especially, Tesla's is a different thing, but especially if you're looking at a Nissan or you're looking at a Ford Mach-E, I mean, they're still pretty tight, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're pretty tight. If you have, what I found is if you have a specific model, trim, color combo, plan ahead, order. You'll get it eventually. Yeah. There's stuff on lots right now. Not a ton
that's amazing,
necessarily.
But in the last couple months, the inventory, just take for instance Fox Ford, they used to have Mazda there too, and that was vacant when they moved, and there was one vehicle in their main showroom. Now there's like 12, and the other side's all Mustangs that are available for sale, and they have cars. So, I mean, in the last few months, they've really caught up.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks so much, James. Really very cool to know that you have this blog, and we want to reach out to you again for
Definitely.
Michigan's Auto Talk podcast.
I would
love to have you on because a lot of people are really looking at this. I really love your perspective of, I don't drive long trips. I don't need to worry about it, and I just, tried these, and I think the greatest takeaway is lease. Then a couple of years down the road, as the technology has improved, you just get the better
He's
technology.
enjoying the best of it.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the other thing, though. In reality, if you look at, I still went with a hybrid, but if you look at, really take a serious look at how many miles you drive and what you do on a daily basis, and if you were smart and didn't, go to 3 different stores and back home on Saturday, did it all in one loop and everything else, a lot of people could get away with the range that's on an electric vehicle today. And quite frankly, if I go on a road trip somewhere, I'm taking my parents along and kids and stuff, I just rent a van, and last time I went, I had a brand new Sienna hybrid, and that thing was awesome.
Yeah, those are nice.
So but again, homework in the Electric Mitten. Check it out.
Yeah. Electricmitten.com. He is James Morin, creator of the Electric Mitten and EV car driver now for well over 10 years. James, thanks so much for stopping by.
Hang on.
Oh, yeah.
You got to remember this stuff.
I almost forgot first car. We have to hear the story.
Okay, so my first car was my mom's 87 Ford Taurus. It broke down, and I was tossed the keys and told for $700 I could get it running again and it'd be mine. So I, didn't have quite that much, so did some of the work myself. So it might have been a little short on transmission fluid. We might have pushed on the fuel injection that we didn't mean to, and it was the fastest 87 Ford Taurus in Michigan, I guarantee.
Sweet.
Almost gallons to the mile. But man, it was quick.
Was it a 4-cylinder or
It was
V6?
the V6.
It was, okay.
Yeah, I drove the 4-cylinder. A friend of mine had it, and that was a dog.
That was a terrible car.
Well, you know what? It was from scratch. They took the Euro chassis and brought it over and tried to Americanize it. It was pretty successful for all the years it ran for what it did. But yeah, all cars were kind of turds back then.
I was somewhere, and it was in '89. This is when I was a radio guy who thought I had all kinds of money. So I leased an '89 Taurus, and it was a 4-cylinder.
Ooh.
And Keller Ford said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna love it." I finally got it, and we were somewhere going up a hill, and that thing barely got up the hill in the 4-cylinder. And I'm not exaggerating. And 6 months later, that car was traded in. It was, you had the right and the fastest 87 Ford Taurus in the state of Michigan. James Morin with us on Michigan's Auto Talk podcast. Thanks so much, James.
Thank you.
We are live at the Michigan International Auto Show in downtown Grand Rapids. Don't forget, as you're hearing this, there are a couple more days of the show through Sunday, February 5th, and the show goes on until 9:30 at night. That'll wrap up this episode of Michigan's Auto Talk podcast. We will be back for another episode of Michigan's Auto Talk podcast, live from DeVos Place. Until next time, for Michigan's Auto Talk, I'm producer Phil Tower.
I'm Al Schwinkendorf.
I'm John Puick. Thanks for listening.